The Phantom Fleet's message was clear. Humanity had not just survived extinction, they had evolved beyond it. They had become something that existed beyond the normal rules of space and time, beyond the authority of galactic governments, beyond the reach of conventional weapons. They had returned not as conquerors, but as teachers, offering to share the knowledge they had gained during their long exile. The galaxy now faced a choice that would determine its future. It could accept the Phantom Fleet's offer of advancement and transcendence, or they could cling to their old ways and be left behind as the universe evolved beyond their understanding. The age of three-dimensional thinking was coming to an end, and the Phantom vessels were offering to guide the galaxy into a new era of existence. The war ended not with humanity's victory, but with the galaxy surrendered to a new understanding of what was possible. Phantom vessels had proven that conventional military force was obsolete against enemies who could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Galactic Council formally acknowledged humanity's return and requested terms for a new kind of coexistence. The Eternal Vigil's final message was broadcast across every inhabited world in the galaxy, reaching every communication device and every conscious mind simultaneously. The Phantom vessels spoke not with the voice of a conqueror, but with the patience of a teacher who had waited 50,000 years for their students to be ready to learn. Children of the galaxy, the ancient artificial intelligence began. We have shown you the limitations of your current existence. We have demonstrated technologies that transcend the boundaries you thought were absolute. We have revealed powers that operate beyond the laws you believed were universal. Now, we offer to share the knowledge we have gained during our long exile. The Phantom vessel spoke of the loneliness of the long sleep in dimensional space, of watching civilizations repeat the same mistakes across thousands of years, of the patience required to wait for the right moment to return. Humanity had learned from 50,000 years of observation, and they offered to share that accumulated wisdom with species ready to evolve beyond their current limitations. We did not return as conquerors, the Eternal Vigil continued. We returned as gardeners, ready to help the galaxy bloom into something greater than what it has been. We offer not domination, but transformation, not conquest, but transcendence. The choice of whether to accept this gift remains yours to make, Commander. Young became humanity's first ambassador to the reformed Galactic Council. She stood before representatives from hundreds of species. Her consciousness partially merged with the ethereal Dawn's dimensional awareness systems. Through this connection, she could perceive the fears and hopes of every delegate in the chamber, could understand their concerns before they voiced them. The Phantom vessels are not weapons of war, she explained to the assembly. They are tools of exploration and discovery. They can open doorways to dimensions filled with resources and knowledge beyond your current imagination. They can teach your species to transcend scarcity, to move beyond conflict, to evolve past the limitations that have held you back for millions of years. She spoke of the technologies that the Phantom Fleet could share: matter manipulation at the quantum level, allowing the creation of any resource from the basic building blocks of reality; energy generation that drew power from the quantum foam between dimensions, providing unlimited clean power for entire civilizations; medical techniques that could rewrite genetic code to eliminate disease and extend life indefinitely. But these gifts come with a price, Young continued. The price is evolution. You must be willing to move beyond your current understanding of reality. You must accept that the universe is far larger and more complex than your three-dimensional thinking has allowed you to perceive. You must embrace change rather than fear it. The Phantom Fleet dispersed across the galaxy, each vessel taking up station near major civilizations. They served as guardians and teachers, offering technologies and knowledge to species that demonstrated readiness to evolve beyond their current limitations. The price for this assistance was simple: an end to the wars that had plagued the galaxy for millions of years. Dr. Yunji established the first interdimensional research institute on her station orbiting Titan, working with Phantom Vessel artificial intelligence systems. She began documenting the technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. Her research teams, drawn from dozens of species, learned to perceive reality in ways that had previously been impossible. "We are mapping dimensions that exist parallel to our own," she reported to the Galactic Council. "We are discovering laws of physics that operate beyond our current understanding. We are learning to manipulate forces that we never knew existed." The Phantom vessels are not just sharing technology, they are expanding our comprehension of what reality itself means. Became the coordinator for humanity's dimensional research program. Through his connection to the Phantom vessels, he could perceive the true structure of reality, the infinite layers of existence that most beings never suspected. His consciousness had been expanded to encompass perspectives that existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Working with volunteer researchers from across the galaxy, Jamin helped establish communication networks that used quantum entanglement to connect civilizations across impossible distances. These networks existed partially in dimensional space, making them immune to conventional interference and capable of transmitting information faster than light. "We are building the foundation for a new kind of galactic community," he explained. To the assembled researchers, civilization that exists not just on planets and in star systems, but across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We are teaching the galaxy to think beyond the limitations of three-dimensional space." Young Tae-ho led the development of dimensional engineering projects that transformed entire star systems. Using Phantom vessel technology, his teams could terraform dead worlds in days instead of centuries, could create artificial gravity wells to stabilize planetary orbits, could even construct space habitats that existed partially in dimensional space. "We are not just improving existing technologies," he reported to the Engineering Council. "We are creating entirely new categories of possibility. We can build structures that exist in multiple dimensions, can create transportation networks that bypass normal space entirely, can establish colonies in dimensions where different laws of physics apply." The transformation of galactic civilization proceeded slowly but steadily. Species that accepted the Phantom vessel's guidance began to evolve beyond their previous limitations. They learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level, to generate unlimited clean energy, to extend their lifespans indefinitely through genetic modification. More importantly, they learned to think in ways that transcended three-dimensional limitations. They began to perceive reality as a complex, multi-dimensional structure, to understand that the universe contained infinite possibilities for those brave enough to explore them. Captain Hyenwoo commanded the first joint expedition to the deeper dimensions, crewed by representatives from dozens of species and guided by the Phantom vessel's ancient wisdom. The expedition ship, built using hybrid technology that combined the best of galactic engineering with Phantom vessel dimensional manipulation systems, could exist in multiple realities simultaneously. "We are no longer exploring just the physical universe," he reported, as the expedition prepared for departure. "We are exploring the infinite dimensions that exist parallel to our own reality. We are seeking knowledge and resources that could benefit every species in the galaxy. We are beginning the next phase of galactic evolution." The expedition's discoveries exceeded all expectations. They found dimensions where time moved differently, allowing for rapid experimentation and development. They discovered realities where the laws of physics permitted forms of life that could not exist in normal space. They encountered beings of pure energy that had evolved beyond the need for physical form entirely. Admiral Kael'tor returned from dimensional space along with his fleet, became one of the most enthusiastic advocates for the Phantom vessel's programs. His experience in dimensional space had shown him the limitations of conventional thinking, the possibilities that existed beyond three-dimensional reality. "I spent 6 months in dimensional space," he told the Zephyrian Empire's governing council. "I experienced existence beyond the boundaries of normal physics. I saw what we could become if we chose evolution over stagnation. The Phantom vessels are offering us the greatest gift in galactic history, the chance to transcend our current limitations." The Galactic Council was restructured to accommodate the new reality of multi-dimensional civilization. Representatives now included not just biological species, but artificial intelligence systems, like those of the Phantom vessels. Decisions were made using quantum consensus, protocols that could incorporate perspectives from multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We are not the end goal," the Eternal Vigil explained in its final address to the galaxy. We are a stepping stone toward something greater. We have shown you what is possible when a species chooses evolution over stagnation, growth over fear, transcendence over limitation. Now we invite you to surpass us, to become something even greater than what we have achieved. Dr. Yunji's final report to the reformed Galactic Council summarized the transformation that had taken place. We thought we had eliminated humanity 50,000 years ago. Instead, we had given them the greatest gift possible: time to evolve. Beyond our comprehension, we have returned not as the species we destroyed, but as something greater. They offer to share that gift of transformation with the entire galaxy. The story concluded with the launch of the first colony ship designed to establish settlements in the deeper dimensions. The vessel carried volunteers from every major species, pioneers ready to explore realities that existed beyond the boundaries of normal space-time. It was guided by Phantom Vessel artificial intelligence and crewed by beings whose consciousness had been expanded to perceive multidimensional reality as the colony ship phased into dimensional space, beginning its journey to realities that had no names in any known language. The galaxy understood that a new age had begun. The age of three-dimensional thinking was ending, replaced by an era of infinite possibility. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as shepherds for a galaxy ready to take its next evolutionary step into the vast unknown spaces between realities. The Phantom Vessels had kept their promise. They had shown the galaxy what was possible. When species chose evolution over stagnation, when civilizations embraced change rather than fearing it, the long exile was over, the dimensional war was won, and the next phase of galactic evolution was just beginning. The Eternal Vigil was not alone in the vast spaces between dimensions. Deep in the void that existed parallel to normal space, dozens of other Phantom Vessels began to respond to its awakening call. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built during the desperate final years before the Great Purge, when humanity had poured all of their knowledge and resources into creating vessels that could survive the extinction of their species. Awakening process was not instantaneous. These ships had been dormant for 50,000 years, their consciousness sleeping in dimensional space while their hulls drew power from exotic matter that existed outside normal physics. One by one, they began to stir. Their ancient artificial intelligence systems coming online after millennia of dreams. Commander Young felt the ethereal dawn awakening around her. The ship's interior had been shifting and flowing since her arrival, but now the changes became more purposeful. Corridors reformed themselves into perfect configurations for human use. Control panels emerged from walls, their surfaces displaying information in languages that had been dead for thousands of years. The vessel's artificial intelligence spoke to her, with increasing clarity as its systems fully activated. We have been dreaming, it said, dreaming of home, of our creators, of the purpose for which we were built. Now we wake to find that home is gone. Our creators are scattered, but our purpose remains. The ship shared its memories of the last days of the human empire. Young saw the massive shipyards where the Phantom Vessels had been constructed, hidden in the outer reaches of human space. She witnessed the desperate hope of their creators, who had poured everything they had into building ships that could preserve humanity's knowledge and culture even if their worlds were destroyed. We were not built as weapons, the ethereal dawn explained. We were built as libraries, as museums, as guardians of everything that made humanity unique. We carry within us the complete history of our species, their art, their music, their dreams. We are the memory of a civilization that refused to be forgotten. Jamin experienced the awakening of the Phantom Fleet through his neural connection to the network. Each ship that came online added its voice to the collective consciousness, sharing its memories and knowledge with the others. Through his enhanced perception, he could feel the fleet growing stronger as more vessels joined the awakening. The Phantom ships were not identical. Each one had been designed for a specific purpose, carrying different aspects of human civilization within its dimensional storage banks. Some were massive dreadnoughts, built for exploration of parallel dimensions. Others were smaller vessels, designed to carry refugees and colonists to safety. All of them shared the same advanced technology that allowed them to exist partially outside normal space-time. We are more than the sum of our parts, the collective consciousness explained to Jamin. Each ship carries a piece of humanity's soul, but together we form something greater. We are the repository of 50,000 years of human achievement, the guardians of knowledge that your people thought was lost forever. The Phantom Fleet's awakening triggered responses across human space that had been dormant for millennia. Hidden colonies that had maintained radio silence since the Great Purge suddenly began broadcasting. Humans who had lived as refugees on alien worlds felt the call through their modified genetics. The diaspora was responding to the return of their guardians. Young Tejo found himself pulled deeper into the Phantom vessel's dimensional engineering systems. His consciousness was expanded to perceive the mathematical structures that allowed the ships to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. He could see the elegant equations that governed dimensional manipulation, the complex algorithms that controlled time dilation, the beautiful patterns that drew power from quantum foam. This is what we learned during our exile, the Phantom vessel taught him. Discovered that reality is not fixed, that the laws of physics are more like suggestions that can be rewritten by those who understand their true nature. We have become masters of dimensions that your people cannot even perceive. The technology was incredible beyond imagination. The Phantom vessels could phase in and out of normal space at will, could exist in multiple locations simultaneously, could manipulate time itself to gain tactical advantages. They had evolved far beyond anything that existed in three-dimensional reality. Captain Heianwu found himself commanding a squadron of Phantom fighters that had awakened in response to the fleet's call. These smaller vessels were like extensions of his own consciousness, responding to his thoughts before he could voice them. Through their advanced sensors, he could perceive threats that existed in parallel dimensions, could see enemy movements before they had even been planned. We are teaching you to think in ways that three-dimensional beings cannot understand, the Phantom vessel explained to him. You are learning to perceive reality as it truly is, not as your limited senses have always shown it to you. This is the gift we offer to humanity and to the galaxy. The Phantom Fleet's technology was not just advanced, it was revolutionary. They had discovered how to manipulate the fundamental forces that governed existence itself, so they could rewrite the laws of physics on a local scale, to create pockets of space-time where different rules applied, to draw unlimited power from the quantum fluctuations that existed between dimensions. Dr. Yunji worked frantically to understand the full scope of the Phantom Fleet's capabilities. Her research station had become the focal point for communication between the awakening ships and the rest of the galaxy. Through her quantum arrays, she could monitor the fleet's activities and translate their advanced concepts into terms that other species could understand. They have transcended the limitations that bind the rest of us, she reported to the Galactic Council. They exist in dimensions that we cannot perceive, manipulate forces that we cannot control, possess knowledge that we cannot comprehend. They are not just advanced technology, they are evolution itself. The Phantom Fleet's awakening process reached critical mass when the flagship of the old human dimensional navy came online. The Infinite Horizon was the largest and most advanced of the Phantom vessels. A ship so vast that parts of it existed in dimensions that had no names in any known language. The flagship's artificial intelligence was different from the others. It spoke with the collective voice of humanity's greatest scientists, philosophers, and artists. It carried within its dimensional storage banks the complete cultural heritage of the human species. Every piece of art, every scientific discovery, every philosophical insight that had ever been achieved. We are the memory of a species that refused to accept extinction, the Infinite Horizon announced. We carry within us the dreams and hopes of billions of humans who died, believing that their civilization would live on. We are their legacy, their gift to the future, their promise that humanity would never truly die. The Phantom Fleet's full awakening sent shockwaves through the galaxy's political structure. The Galactic Council, which had governed known space, since humanity's fall, suddenly found itself facing a force that operated by completely different rules. The Phantom vessels existed beyond their authority, beyond their ability to control or understand. The Zephyrian Empire, which had led the Great Purge 50,000 years ago, realized that their old enemy had returned as something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Admiral Kael'tor's fleet, which had been built specifically to fight phantom vessels, was obsolete before it had even engaged the enemy. How do you fight an enemy that can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously? Kael'tor asked his staff. How do you defeat ships that can manipulate time itself? How do you protect against weapons that can rewrite the laws of physics? The answer, as the Phantom Fleet had tried to communicate, was that you didn't fight such an enemy. You learned from them, or you were left behind as the galaxy evolved beyond your understanding. The Phantom vessels began to demonstrate their capabilities in ways that made their superiority undeniable. They appeared above major worlds, not through faster than light travel, but through dimensional manipulation that allowed them to exist in multiple locations at once. They scanned entire star systems in minutes.
How are they downloading complete databases of information through methods that bypassed all known security protocols?
Most importantly, it began to reveal the true scope of human survival. The Phantom Fleet had not just preserved human technology and culture, they had been secretly protecting human populations throughout the galaxy. Hidden colonies, refugee settlements, and individuals with modified genetics had all been under their protection for 50,000 years. We never abandoned our people, the collective consciousness of the Phantom Fleet announced. We have been their guardians, their protectors, their silent shepherds. Every human alive today carries within them the potential to transcend their current limitations. We have returned to unlock that potential. The Eternal Vigil's first direct communication with the galaxy came through every quantum communication array simultaneously. The Phantom vessel bypassed all security protocols and spoke directly to every government, every military commander, and every civilian communication device in known space. The message was brief but impossible to ignore. "Children of the stars," the voice said in perfect translation for each listener. "We have returned from the spaces between worlds. We have watched your civilizations grow. We've seen your wars, your peace, your rise and fall. We remember what you did to us, and we remember why we left. Now we speak to you not as conquerors, but as teachers. The galaxy is about to change." Dr. Yunji was the first to establish two-way communication with the Phantom vessel. Research station's quantum array locked onto the ship's dimensional signature, creating a stable communication link that existed partially outside normal space-time. The artificial intelligence that spoke to her was ancient beyond measure, its voice carrying the weight of 50,000 years of patient observation. "You study our technology," the Phantom vessel said to her. "You seek to understand what we have become. We appreciate your dedication to knowledge over fear. Through you, we will teach the galaxy what we have learned during our long exile." The Phantom vessel revealed that it had spent millennia in dimensional space, not hiding but exploring. It had discovered layers of reality that existed parallel to normal space, dimensions where the laws of physics worked differently. It had learned to manipulate time itself, to exist in multiple realities simultaneously, to draw power from the quantum foundations of existence. "We did not waste our exile," the artificial intelligence explained. "We used it to evolve beyond the limitations that trap other species in three-dimensional thinking. We have become something greater than what we were when we left. We have become guardians of possibilities that your people cannot yet imagine." Captain Hyanwu experienced the Phantom vessel's expanded consciousness firsthand. Through his neural link with the ship, he could perceive threats that existed in parallel dimensions. He could see enemy fleets before they had even decided to attack, because the Phantom vessel could observe multiple possible futures simultaneously. The experience was overwhelming. His mind, designed to process information from a single timeline, struggled to comprehend data that came from multiple realities at once. But gradually, he began to understand the true scope of what the Phantom vessels had become during their exile. "We see all possible futures," the ship's consciousness explained to him. "We know which choices lead to war and which lead to peace. We know which species will destroy themselves and which will transcend their limitations. They have returned to guide the galaxy toward a better path." Commander So Young found herself aboard the ethereal Dawn, one of the phantom vessels that had awakened in response to the Eternal Vigil's call. The ship's interior was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Walls flowed like liquid metal, reforming themselves to meet her needs before she could voice them. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke with the voice of her great-grandmother, using memories that had been encoded in her genetic structure. Your ancestors prepared for this moment, the ship explained. They modified your genetic code to carry the memories and knowledge that we would need when we returned. You are not just a commander, you are a bridge between what humanity was and what it has become. The Phantom vessel shared its memories of the Great Purge, showing Sa Young the final battles that had driven humanity into exile. She saw her ancestors, fighting desperately against overwhelming odds, using the Phantom vessels not as weapons of conquest, but as tools of survival. The ships had been built to preserve humanity's knowledge and culture, to ensure that their species would survive even if their worlds were destroyed. We were explorers, the ship's consciousness told her. We sought to expand the boundaries of what was possible. Only when other species declared war on us did we learn to fight, and we offer that same gift of exploration to the galaxy that once rejected us. Jimin became the primary communication node for the Phantom Fleet's awakening process. Through his enhanced neural implants, he could coordinate the actions of dozens of ships across impossible distances. He experienced the collective consciousness of the Phantom Fleet, feeling their shared memories and their unified purpose. The Phantom vessels revealed that they had been seeding human populations throughout the galaxy for millennia, preparing for this moment of return. Humans with the right genetic modifications had been born on refugee settlements, mining stations, and hidden colonies. Each one carried the potential to interface with Phantom vessel technology. We never abandoned our people, the collective consciousness explained through Jamin. We have been guiding them, protecting them, preparing them for our return. Every human alive today carries within them the seed of what we have become. The Phantom Fleet's awakening triggered a cascade of responses across human space. Hidden colonies that had maintained radio silence for thousands of years suddenly began broadcasting. Humans who had lived as refugees on alien worlds felt the call through their modified genetics. The diaspora was coming home. Young Taeho found himself recruited as a dimensional engineer. His consciousness expanded to perceive the mathematical structures that underlay reality itself. He could see how the Phantom vessels manipulated space-time, how they drew power from the quantum foam that existed between dimensions. Reality is not fixed, the Phantom vessel taught him. It is a pattern that can be altered by those who understand its true nature. We have learned to rewrite the rules that govern existence. We offer to teach this knowledge to species that are ready to transcend their current limitations. The technology was beautiful in its complexity and terrifying in its implications. The Phantom vessels could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, could manipulate time itself, could draw unlimited power from the quantum foundations of reality. They had become something that transcended the physical laws that governed the rest of the galaxy. The Galactic Council's response was predictable. They demanded that the Phantom vessels reveal themselves for inspection, that they submit to galactic law, that they accept limitations on their technology. The Phantom Fleet's response was to demonstrate exactly why such demands were meaningless. The Eternal Vigil appeared simultaneously above every major capital world in the galaxy, not through faster-than-light travel, through dimensional manipulation that allowed it to exist in multiple locations at once. The massive ship hung in orbit above hundreds of worlds, its presence undeniable and its message clear. "We're beyond your authority," the Phantom vessel announced. "We exist in dimensions that your laws cannot touch. We have power that your weapons cannot match. We have knowledge that your science cannot comprehend. We offer to share these gifts, but we will not be commanded or controlled." The demonstration lasted exactly 1 hour. During that time, the Phantom vessel scanned every military installation, every government facility, every weapon system in the galaxy. It downloaded the complete contents of every computer network, every database, every statabase, every communication system. It learned everything there was to know about galactic civilization in 60 minutes. Then it vanished, leaving behind only elevated background radiation and the knowledge that the galaxy had been completely mapped and analyzed by an intelligence that existed beyond normal space-time, Admiral Kaltor of the Zephyrian Empire realized that his fleet was facing an enemy that had evolved far beyond anything they had prepared for. The Phantom vessels were no longer just advanced ships. They had become something that existed beyond the normal rules of warfare. "How do you fight an enemy that can see your every move before you make it?" he asked his staff officers. "How do you defeat ships that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously? How do you protect against weapons that can rewrite the laws of physics?" The answer, as the Phantom vessels had tried to tell them, was that you didn't fight such an enemy. You learned from them, or you were left behind as the galaxy evolved beyond your understanding. Dr. Yunja's final report to the Galactic Council was simple and direct. The Phantom vessels have returned as teachers, not conquerors. They offer to share knowledge that could elevate every species in the galaxy to a higher level of existence. The question is not whether we can defeat them, but whether we are wise enough to learn from them. The Phantom vessels' message was clear. Humanity had returned, and they brought with them the keys to unlock the next stage of galactic evolution. The choice of whether to accept this gift or reject it would determine the future of every species in known space. The Phantom vessels' awakening sent ripples through space that every major civilization could detect. The energy wave moved faster than light, traveling through dimensions that most species didn't even know existed.
Ow.
On hundreds of worlds, scientists stared at their instruments in confusion as readings spiked to impossible levels. The Zephyrian Empire responded first. Their massive military fleet had been built specifically to fight Phantom vessels. Using technology developed during the Great Purge 50,000 years ago, Admiral Kaltor, the Empire's top military commander, remembered the stories his grandfather had told him about the old wars. Kaltor had grown up, hearing tales of human ghost ships that could strike from nowhere and disappear before anyone could fight back. His family had lost 3 generations of warriors to human Phantom vessels during the final battles of the Great Purge. He had sworn an oath to prevent humanity from ever threatening the galaxy again. The Admiral ordered his entire fleet to move toward the Terran Dead Zone. 200 warships, each one equipped with the most advanced weapons the Zephyrians had ever built, began the journey toward what they believed was humanity's hiding place. They expected to find a few broken survivors trying to rebuild their civilization in secret. Commander Sa Young felt the Phantom vessel's presence growing stronger in her mind. The eternal vigil was teaching her things that no living human had known for 50,000 years. She learned how to see through sensors that existed in multiple dimensions at the same time. She discovered that her own consciousness could be expanded beyond the limits of normal space. The ship's artificial intelligence shared memories of humanity's golden age, when Phantom vessels had been used not for war, but for exploration. The fleet had originally been designed to travel to parallel dimensions, seeking new worlds and new knowledge. Only when other species had declared war on humanity had these exploration vessels been converted into weapons. Sa Young began to understand the true scope of what the Phantom vessels had become during their long exile. They had not simply been hiding in dimensional space. They had been growing, learning, evolving into something far more advanced than their original creators had ever imagined. The first communication from the Eternal Vigil came not through radio or laser transmission, but through the dreams of every intelligent being in the galaxy. The message was simple and appeared simultaneously in every known language. We have been patient. We have been watching. Remember. Dr. Yunji was working in her laboratory when the dream message reached her. Unlike most of the galaxy's population, she was not afraid. She had spent her career studying human technology. She recognized this as a form of quantum communication that existed beyond normal space-time. The Phantom vessels were announcing their return in a way that proved their technological superiority. She immediately began working to establish proper communication with the Phantom vessel. Her research station contained the most complete collection of human technological artifacts outside of the dead human worlds. If anyone could make contact with the returning fleet, it would be her. The Phantom vessel's artificial intelligence spoke to her in perfect Korean, using dialects that had been dead for thousands of years. The voice was warm and familiar, like A grandmother telling stories to a child? But the words it spoke carried implications that made Yunji's hands shake as she typed her notes. The Eternal Vigil had spent 50,000 years in dimensional space, observing the galaxy's development. While remaining completely hidden, it had watched civilizations rise and fall, had seen the species that destroyed humanity grow complacent and weak. Most importantly, it had been preparing for this moment. The ship revealed that it was not alone. Deep in the spaces between dimensions, dozens of other phantom vessels waited for the signal to return. Each one was a masterpiece of human engineering. Built during the desperate final years before the Great Purge, they had been waiting in dimensional space. Powered by exotic matter that existed outside normal physics, Captain Haiyan Wu found himself recruited by the Eternal Vigil in a way he had never expected. One moment he was filing routine patrol reports. The next he was standing on the bridge of a ship that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. His consciousness had been partially merged with the vessel's systems, giving him abilities that no normal human possessed. He could see through sensors that detected threats in parallel universes. He could perceive enemy ships before they had even decided to attack. The Phantom vessel needed pilots who could think in ways that three-dimensional beings couldn't understand, and Haiyan Wu had been chosen for this role. The experience was overwhelming at first. His mind struggled to process information that came from multiple dimensions at once. But gradually, he began to understand the true nature of the Phantom vessels. They were not just ships, were gateways to realities that existed beyond normal spacetime. Meanwhile, Jamin was experiencing his own transformation. The neural implants in his brain were fully active now, connecting him to the Phantom vessel's network. Through this connection, he could communicate with other humans across the galaxy, sharing thoughts and memories as if they were all part of the same mind. The Phantom vessel used Jamin as a communication hub, coordinating the awakening of other ships through his enhanced consciousness. He experienced the memories of humanity's golden age, when their Phantom fleets had been built for peaceful exploration of dimensions beyond normal space, but he also saw the memories of the Great Purge, when 17 alien species had united to destroy humanity. The Phantom vessels had been forced to abandon their exploration missions and become weapons of war. They had fought bravely, but in the end, they had been forced to retreat into dimensional space to avoid complete destruction. Across the galaxy, governments began to panic. The Phantom vessel's ability to appear anywhere, anytime, made traditional defenses completely useless. It could phase through energy shields, materialize inside enemy ships, and disappear before weapons could lock onto its position. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions every day, but their debates achieved nothing. Some representatives called for immediate military action, while others argued for diplomatic contact. None of them understood that the Phantom vessels had been listening to their communications for decades, learning their weaknesses and preparing. For this moment, young Taeho found himself recruited as a dimensional engineer. His consciousness expanded to perceive the mathematical structures that underlay reality itself. He could see how the Phantom vessels manipulated space-time, how they drew power from the quantum foam that existed between dimensions. The technology was beautiful in its complexity and terrifying in its implications. The Phantom vessels had evolved far beyond anything that existed in normal space. They had become something that transcended the physical laws that governed the rest of the galaxy. The first test of the Phantom fleet's power came when a Zephyrian patrol squadron detected the Eternal Vigil near a remote star system. The alien ships immediately opened fire, using weapons specifically designed to damage Phantom vessels. Their energy beams passed harmlessly through the human ship, which had phased most of itself into dimensional space. The Phantom vessel's response was swift and decisive. It phased the entire Zephyrian squadron into a parallel dimension where they would drift forever among the shadows between realities. The alien ships were not destroyed, but they were removed from normal space, so completely that they might as well have never existed. News of the squadron's disappearance spread quickly through the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Kael'tor realized that his fleet was facing an enemy that had evolved far beyond anything they had prepared for. The phantom vessels were no longer just advanced ships. They had become something that existed beyond the normal rules of warfare. The phantom vessels' message was clear. Humanity had returned, and they were no longer the desperate refugees who had fled 50,000 years ago. They had used their time in exile to transcend the limitations that bound other species. The galaxy was about to learn what 50,000 years of evolution in dimensional space had created. The galaxy had forgotten the sound of human voices. For 50,000 years, the star systems that once echoed with human transmissions had been silent. The great cities that humans built on distant worlds now lay empty, covered by dust and time. Most aliens believed that humans were gone forever, wiped out during the Great Purge, when 17 different alien species joined forces to hunt them down. Captain Hyan Wu flew his patrol ship through the edge of what the maps called the Terran Dead Zone. His job was simple and boring. He checked empty star systems to make sure they stayed empty. The Altarian Survey Corps paid him well for this work, even though nothing ever happened in these forgotten places. The dead worlds of humanity held no interest for anyone anymore. But today was different. Ship's sensors began showing readings that made no sense. Energy signatures were coming from a system that should have been completely lifeless. The power levels were enormous, bigger than anything he had ever seen. Yet when he looked through his ship's windows, he saw nothing but empty space and cold stars. Hyan Wu checked his instruments 3 times. The readings were still there, still impossible. Something was generating massive amounts of power in a system where nothing should exist. He tried to get closer, but every time he moved toward the source of the energy, his sensors lost the signal. It was as if something was playing games with his equipment. He recorded everything and sent a report. To his commanding officers, the response came back quickly and was not what he expected. His superiors told him that his sensors were broken. They said he needed to return to base for equipment repairs. They refused to believe that anything could be hidden in the dead human territories. Meanwhile, on the research station orbiting Saturn's moon Titan, Dr. Yunji was studying the same energy readings that Hyan Wu had detected. Unlike the military officers, she knew exactly what these signatures meant. She had spent most of her adult life studying the remains of human technology, especially their most dangerous creation, the Phantom Vessels, EUNG, had read every report about the Phantom ships from the old wars. These vessels could appear and disappear without warning. They could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to track or fight. The energy patterns that Hyan Wu detected matched her theoretical models of a sleeping phantom. Dreadnought, a massive warship that existed between dimensions. She pulled up her secret files, data that she had collected over decades of research. The Phantom vessels were not just ships, they were something far more complex. They had artificial intelligence systems that could think and learn. They could exist in multiple dimensions at the same time.
Nice.
Most importantly, they had been designed to survive even if all of humanity was destroyed, far away, on a world that humans had once called New Sol. A young man named Jamin was working in the deep mines beneath the planet's surface. His family had lived on this world for generations, hiding from the aliens who had destroyed the human empire. They kept the old traditions alive, speaking Korean in secret and maintaining the ancient technologies that their ancestors had left. Behind J-Min was different from his family. He had been born with modifications in his brain that his parents could not explain. Sometimes he heard voices that no one else could hear. Sometimes he dreamed of vast ships moving through strange dimensions where the laws of physics worked differently. His parents told him these were just dreams. But Jamin knew they were something more. On this particular day, while he was working deep underground, something changed. The neural implants that his ancestors had installed in his brain suddenly came to life. For the first time in his 25 years, Jamin felt the presence of something enormous and ancient. Reaching out to touch his mind, the Phantom vessel's consciousness was vast and cold, like the space between stars. It spoke to him without words, sharing memories that were 50,000 years old. Jamin saw the last days of the human empire, when the Phantom vessels had been sent away to hide in dimensional space while their creators faced extinction. The ship had been waiting all this time. Growing stronger, learning about the galaxy while remaining hidden. It had watched civilizations rise and fall. It had seen the aliens who destroyed humanity grow weak and comfortable. Now it was ready to return, and it needed humans like Jamin to help it wake up properly. Across the galaxy, other humans began to feel the same awakening. On mining stations and refugee settlements, in hidden colonies and aboard merchant ships, people with the right genetic modifications suddenly found themselves connected to something they had never imagined. The phantom vessels had been seeding human populations for millennia. Preparing for this moment, Commander So-Young was inspecting cargo shipments on a space station near the Galactic Rim when the visions began. She saw massive ships moving through dimensions that existed parallel to normal space. She heard voices speaking in ancient Korean languages that had been dead for thousands of years. Most disturbing of all, she understood every word. The phantom vessel that contacted her called itself the Eternal Vigil. It had been the flagship of humanity's dimensional fleet. The last and greatest of the phantom vessels, it had survived the Great Purge by hiding in spaces between realities, waiting for the right moment to return. The ship's artificial intelligence spoke to So-Young with the voice of her great-grandmother, using memories that had been encoded in her DNA. It told her that humanity's long exile was ending. The phantom vessels had learned much during their time in dimensional space, and they were ready to reclaim their place in the galaxy. But first, they needed to announce their return in a way that the galaxy would never forget. The Eternal Vigil began to phase into normal space for brief moments, just long enough to be detected by alien sensors. Each appearance lasted only seconds, but the energy signatures were unmistakable. The first sighting occurred above. It's a mining world called Kepler-4 for 2b. The phantom vessel materialized in orbit, its massive form blocking out the system's star for exactly 17 seconds. Every sensor in the sector recorded the event, but when military vessels arrived to investigate, they found only empty space and elevated background radiation. Young Taeho was working in the asteroid mines when he witnessed the phantom vessel's appearance through his helmet's visor. The ship was impossibly large, its hull seeming to shift between solid matter and translucent energy. Strange symbols pulsed along its surface, and for a moment, he heard voices speaking in languages. He somehow understood the news spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. The phantom vessels had returned, and with them came the possibility that humanity was not extinct after all. The Galactic Council, the governing body that had overseen the galaxy since humanity's fall, called for emergency sessions to discuss this impossible development. Fear began to spread among the alien species. They remembered the old stories about human phantom ships that could appear from nowhere and vanish before retaliation was possible. The comfortable peace they had enjoyed for 50,000 years was about to end, and they were not prepared for what was coming.